Hey guys, Matt Lighty here, and today we'll be taking a look at Flamebreak. Now this isn't a sponsored video, but Nimbly Games did send me the copy, so I'd like to say a thank you to them and a shout out. You can catch the game if you want to on Steam. It released March 15th, which means it's out now, and it is $9.99, and I think it's actually worth getting. Flamebreak is a roguelike game, which means that it is a permanent death game, but you can make progress in the game via unlockables, but each run you do is a one-time go. When you die, and that run is over. You have to start over from there. Now, first thing let's do is change our player name. You can do this at the top of the screen. Let's rename myself, I don't know. What the fuck? Lighty. Okay. Now, the game works very simply. It's very similar to Binding of Isaac, but it has some elements of League of Legends in it, and the shop system, and then the skill system. So we're going to do a new run here. Let's quickly check what we have unlocked. So you start the game with Minotaur, Human, Elf, and Dwarf. These are your starting classes. Then as you progress in the game, you get more Spirit. Depending on the difficulty, you get more per run. For example, you get double Spirit on hard mode and triple Spirit on Nightmare mode, are the hardest of the difficulties there are. And the more Spirit you unlock, the more different races you unlock, all the way up to this Mysterious Challenger. You also have options of different weapons. Of course, you can unlock more weapons with higher spirit levels, and same thing for different skills you have unlocked. Alright, now you click a new run section, you'll have access to randomly generated different classes and with 2 abilities and weapons. Alright, so everything's just random as far as even when you're choosing a character. Now once you get level 5, you can do custom mode, in which case you can pick and select your own character, your own stats, your own abilities, and all that jazz, but you will have a lesser gain of spirit if you do that. Now you could re-roll your characters, and you'll get differently random generated, again, abilities and races and weapon types, but it'll diminish your win streak. Now my win streak is negative 43, so at this point it doesn't fucking matter. So let's take a look at, let's see what we can get random gen a couple more. Let's get a nice cool one. Dagger, I haven't used Dagger yet. I kind of like the Blunderbuss. Dwarf with Blunderbuss. Now, some of the ratios are a lot more powerful than others, and some of them work better in combination with certain skills. For example, in my opinion, the strongest one I have access to now is the Fairy. The Fairy plainly gives you teleport on right click. Now this has a 6-second cooldown, but is extremely powerful when dodging certain boss mechanics. Other examples of abilities are Minotaur Stampede, which lets you charge to the location of where you click, and it stuns and damages the enemy. And the Dwarf does an AoE stun around him. Now of the abilities they have, sometimes they, like I said, work more synergistically than with others. The random weapon that the Minotaur got this time is a Spear, which is a mid-tier weapon as far as its range. It has a cooldown, and every couple seconds you can actually throw the Spear out, which is quite nice. But does it synergize better with the other abilities I've gained, as in Flame Wave and Meteor Strike? Well, it's hard to say. I've gotten a Dwarf with the Bombs, which is in my opinion, the strongest skill I've played so far is Skeleton Mines. They deploy these mines that seek out and destroy enemies. But I don't like the fact he has a sword. I don't like the fact he has Flame Wave. So I'm going to reroll it. So the things I'm looking for is a ranged weapon that has bombs. And here we go, we found Musket with bombs. So we can take this. Spirit Walk is a okay ability. It's not the best for what we're trying to do here, but we'll reroll it. Alright, so we're going to go with the Human here. The Human has the racial of the Human Squire's Glory, which basically puts a little dinky enemy on our enemy, and it kind of distracts him for a little bit and does some damage. It's pretty much just a decoy for us. We have Skeleton Mines, which is what we like to use. It's my favorite ability. The Human has using the crossbow weapon, which has a larger range attack, and it slows enemies struck by, which is very useful for kiting. And Festering Venom does a stacking DPS dot on them, which we could actually activate to explode and do more damage than remove all stacks. So we're just going to skip. So this is where you first get in the game. You have to figure out your WASD, hold left click to attack, shoot my little things out. You can kind of figure out the range of it. You can see that right about here is where I start falling off for range. You can see the dot ticking from the Festering Venom. Now it's pretty simple controls. WASD, shift, which is our bombs we put down. Space, which is what triggers our explosion. It is a passive ability, but we can, like I said, once it has 2 stacks, trigger it to do extra damage, and right click puts a little guy in there. Once you activate all your abilities and prove that you've tested them out, you gain access to the actual game. This is a tutorial that will start every single time you start the game. It's a bit frustrating, but you just quickly walk in and spam all your buttons. I wish there's actually an option where you could turn them off possibly, but that's where we're at right now. Right side of your screen is what shows your items, which we have no items that are actually equipable. These are items that we can use when we're in the Overworld. So this is the Overworld. This is where you start the game. This is what it looks like. So this is the first level. It's always the same as far as the terrain of the first level. We're always starting this forest area. It's always the same amount of time to get to the boss. So essentially what we do, we have to left click these little skirmishes. Some of them are different. For this one says there's a hazard in the area. But when we clear the hazard, we get an overworld item. Now, I mentioned overworld items before, which is the spyglass, the orb stone, the dust of appearance, and the healing potion. Now these don't change, and these are also on hotkey 1 through 4. But when you click them, it will prompt you if you are you sure you want to do this, which is actually a really nice feature in case you misclick it or something along those lines. Now, what dust of appearance does is if there's mountains that are blocking our path, it'll unlock secret paths in them. Sometimes they have special things like troves of gold. I just used mine for example. Does nothing, of course, because we have none around here. Orb stone lets us actually teleport to a certain location. And the spyglass lets us see what's in that area so we can discover the path ahead. Maybe plan our trajectory a little better along our skirmish pathing. And this, of course, heals us back to full. So we're going to do the first skirmish, and we want to progress upwards. Now, there's one thing that they don't tell you, which I found a little annoying, a little frustrating. And I'm going to actually force this interaction that you will see. There's something called the shadows that will eventually come on screen and really push your progress in the game. Now, we'll get to that in a second. So this is the thing. This is our first skirmish. Now, we don't actually activate combat until we move or do an ability, so we can just chill here forever. We want to assess the strategy. Now we're fighting 3 things at once, and the second this starts, we have some terrain here. We can actually move direction. You can see the range of our abilities. If you scroll over them, it shows kind of this half circle to see how far it goes. This goes pretty close to us. This goes really far over here. So we're going to walk up and drop the things. Let's put our mines out, and we're going to start attacking. First skirmish complete. You get a flawless bonus. Now we've completed this flawlessly. Okay, so after we've completed our first skirmish, we now have access to it, and this isn't always guaranteed. We have access to a town, where the town sells healing, map items, and stat boosters. Now let's click the town, and this is what we're selling today. And anything that is in green text is on sale. Now we've gotten gold for completing our skirmishes. We actually got extra gold for doing it flawlessly, which is not being hit. Now we have access to certain items and certain things. Now you almost always want to get the cheese. If you've taken really any damage, 10 gold is nothing, and it heals you back to full. And like I said, this is a roguelike game, which means once you die, that's it. So the boots are on sale, and the boots are offering life and movement speed. Now, the movement speed is great for kiting, and health obviously keeps you alive. So those are on sale. We might want to get those. We're going to pick these up for now. We're going to save the rest of our gold for later. Now, the next skirmish is over here. And after the skirmish comes the boss. Now, it says veterans. This just means that there's slightly stronger enemies, and there's less of them. We're going to do our general strat, which is put our little bomb guys down. Keep maintaining our dodging of skills. And success flawless number 2. Now we're at the boss, okay? So now you can see it's kind of getting dark over here and a little smoky. So what will happen is, and we're going to make this triggered over here. If you do too many events or too many skirmishes or too many activities in one area, this shadow starts creeping up to you. And it should start happening after this encounter. Now you'll learn the different racials of different enemies, and as you go on and fight them, you'll kind of figure out different strats to fight against them. For example, these bomb guys do similar patterns, and because of this we can activate our abilities in ways that we can stay at a nice distance, and most times we'll see little circles or radios on the ground showing what's happening. So now if you scroll over these that are below the bubbling shadows, you can see shadow occupies this land. Fighting the shadow grants no rewards. The shadow advances north each day. Now, by day, they mean each activation of a skirmish. So if I were to fight this skirmish, I'd be fighting actually more difficult enemies and gain no reward for it. So what this does is it puts you on kind of a clock on how much you can dilly-dally within a zone. So we're pretty much done with the zone. This is the first zone. All we have to do is go to the shop. We could actually get more gold over here. The shadow will advance one more, and we can actually do it safely. So let's actually do that. Now, these are soul collectors, and vulnerable spirits protect their master. The master's one has an HP bar, and these will take no damage. We basically have to kill this bitch as fast as we can. Try not to get hit yet again, solely because we want to get the flawless, which we have. Now we're flawless 5. So now the shadows moved up one more. And you can walk to defeated zones without actually triggering the shadows onto us until it goes to us. So now the shadows on this land, so I can't go anywhere but fight the boss. So now we're into the boss. Now the bosses are randomly generated, but the difficulty scales up with each thing. So I've seen at least eight bosses, I think. This boss name is Cassie, and she does something. We don't really know what, but she's a fairy, so we can assume she teleports. Now, the racials, like we have on our racials, are the same for most bosses. So fairies can teleport, so we can expect some kind of maneuverability from her this fight. Alright? Now we're going to do our general strat. We can see she's doing some ability where she shoots out. We got these waves of damage. So now we can expect them to come in the similar radials. Alright, now we're dodging, we're dodging, we're dodging. Remember, you want to take your time in general. Especially for shit like this, you can get caught off guard. You can see the damage start stacking up if you get caught by too many abilities at once. We didn't do it flawlessly, but that was pretty good. But you can imagine, and this was the first tier of fighting. And a harder fight with that same boss, it might be a lot more difficult. And that's the situation with a lot of bosses. So because we cleared the Old Forest, we got 10 Spirit. If that was on hard, we would have gotten 20. If it was on Nightmare, we would have gotten 30. Now we're on to the next zone, which is the Snowy Lands. Alright? So in the Snowy Lands, we start to see, alright, now we have some mountain ranges and mountains over here. We got some skirmishes. Now, I don't know if it's 100% guaranteed, but from what my experience is, you always start the zone right next to a town after the first zone. So we're not in full life, so we're actually going to go up here and we're going to pick up this. Now, what do we want from here? We want to have, so we can take some more life, and we're going to, this is a lot of mountains here, so nothing's on sale. We don't really need these particulars, so we're moving on. Now, let's drop a spyglass right here. This is going to be the largest area we can discover. We see that there's a town right there. Mostly skirmishes, which means there's probably other stuff on the other side. We're going to use Dust Appearance because we're going to walk through this mountain over here. Bam. So now the path reveals the track through the mountain. And it's just a normal skirmish, but we're going to engage this anyway. So there's nothing special about this. It's just normal mobs. It looks like this pack of ice right here cannot be shot through. We can kind of figure out what these ends do. These things are shooting on a straight trajectory. The sniper is having some sort of ridicule that they're showing prior to their shot. Pretty easy to dodge it, in my opinion. We're going to be dropping our mines down, which do block projectiles, I should add. And we're almost out of the zone. Not flawless, but still pretty minimal damage on our part. 20 gold, moving on. Now we have access to the blacksmith. Now blacksmiths sell set pieces are sold here. Assemble complete sets to unleash powerful bonus effects. Each world contains 5 item sets. Activate dust before entering to reveal additional choices. Now, this is an option. Okay, so if I were to pop a dust right here, boom, this now has additional choices as it's all sparkly. Alright, so if you see it being sparkly and purple, that means you've now unlocked additional choices. Normally you'd have 3, now you have 4 options. None of them are on sale. And again, we're not in a timer as far as actual time for the shadow to advance. It's only time in the zone as far as actual skirmishes. So we can take as much time as we want reading these type of things. You can see the different sets we have over here. We have Venomancers, Grandmasters, Frostwalkers, or Pyrians, okay? Now these do different things when completing the sets. These are all 3 sets, I believe. Yes, they are. And you can see that this one costs rings and amulets. This one costs rings and amulets and a helmet. This one costs amulet, helmet, and chest. And you can see next to the symbols, next to their names of the things that it requires. For example, the Frostwalker's amulet comes from a jewelry shop. Frostwalker's helmet and chest come from a blacksmith. So you know that this requires more. You're going to have to visit more blacksmith shops than jewelry shops. And the others are the complete opposite, being more jewelry shops and blacksmith shops. Now these do, again, different stats, which might be different for our build. Our build is pretty much going for mastery, movement speed, and life. So we'd like to get those things if possible. CDR, or cooldown reduction, is very good also because we can activate more bombs. So something like this is really strong for Grandmasters. It multiplies our skill mastery by 1.6. Frostwalkers makes a kind of chilling wind around us. And when things are at 25% around us, they get frozen solid and take double damage. Gives us skill mastery and life. This thing's emit a wave of fire every couple seconds. And this, my attacks do poison and damage them for more of their basic health over 5 seconds. So we can kind of build a set. We're actually going to go for the Grandmasters here, which means once we find a jewelry shop, we have to find 2 jewelry shops, and then we'll be on par with what we're doing. Now, the shadow has not proceeded yet, so we have pretty much a good amount of time. And our strategy is going to be to clear past the next skirmish, and then we're going to work back to our town and get our free cheese, and we should be full health for the boss. Pretty much we want to be just spamming our bomb and our little guy ability, because those are what's going to be keeping us safe from projectiles and doing most of our damage. These necromancer things look like they summon a fair amount of enemies, but pretty easy overall. Now the things that summon have to be killed to they can actually res each other to be get our finished area so we can see the shadow still hasn't come up yet. We're going to clear this zone first and walk back down and go to town. Now, we have activated a random kind of good ability for us. Now, what this is a loot hook. Now, we'll see other ones that have similar things with these goblins. All this means is pretty much all your things trigger the same ability. Shift, space, mouse, and left. All you gotta do is right-click, hook an enemy. Now, they're gonna come running down, and you have to pretty much just hook them past it, and you can kind of track it and pull it off quite easily, in my opinion. And the more you do, the more gold you get. I've never actually gotten perfection, so we'll see if we can get one. Some of them are pretty difficult, like that one's pretty hard. Pulled it off, and we got one more over here. And, oh, this is a charter. So this one is requiring us going from behind. Oh, got him. And that should be the last one. Perfect clear. Gotten 30 gold. That's quite good. The shadow is still not come up yet, so we could actually dilly-dally more if we wanted to. Let's do dust here. Alright, looks like nothing's over here, but now our shop is going to sell more because we dusted. Doesn't really have anything we need aside from life. We're just going to stock up on the essentials over here. And now we're going to be exiting the zone with no currency, but that's fine. Oh, there comes the shadow. So we're pretty much done with the zone. Walk back up. The shadow's going to advance one more because that counts as being a day, actually. Now we're going to enter the next boss room. Now this boss is Thalon. I've fought him before. He's actually quite tricky. But you learn the mechanics of the fight, and I will do a series later on about how to beat each boss mechanically. So never engage this fight. He has, if you're just looking at him based on, he's ranged, and he's going to be kind of tricky. You can actually look at when he's shooting. He's shooting with different projectile spreads. All right. Now what I mean by that is this one's now 3, this one's now 4. So you can actually stand still when he's shooting the 4 one, and he won't hit you because he's actually splitting the difference around you. But the 3 one you have to stand still for and wait a couple seconds for it to kind of track around your path. Now he does target you, so it's not like foolproof. Now, so he dropped a bomb. What that bomb did was, there we go, there's a little shock damage around him. We don't want to be involved in that shock damage whatsoever. So we're going to try to keep our distance pretty much. We want to rotate him around again, keeping our distance but not taking any damage. And this really all stems from the player's ability to motion track. We've kind of caught ourselves in a poor position here, where we got a little stuck in the corner. We could have had a flawless boss kill, but we fucked up because we just didn't play the field right. So we got 15 points for the second clear. Now we're moving on. There's a bunch of story. You can read that at your own time. I'm going to skip this for now. We're now in the Wind Trap Desert. Now we have unlocked a new thing which you guys haven't seen yet, and these are the gods. Now you enter these temples, and you either have to clear the zone and leave the god statue alive, and he'll grant you favor, or you could kill the temple and gain favor with other gods you've already encountered. We have not encountered a god yet. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to clear this zone. We're going to leave this guy alive. Now, these mobs are pretty tricky to kill because Halloran's altar makes enemies regenerate. Now, when we get that, and we actually clear 2 temples, we'll have enough that means we'll unlock the god's favor, and then they will help us, and we'll get regeneration. But until then, we have to deal with the fact that this is a very, very tricky situation. We're fighting some angry, angry mobs over here that are going to be really hard to kill, that are constantly coming back to life. Now, if possible, we'd like to kill the guy that's dropping bombs. But that might not be a thing we could do, considering the constant regen of their life. This is actually looking like it's probably going to be the death of us overall. So we might just flip the script here and go and just kill Halloran's temple. Because we've come to the swift realization that we don't have enough damage to really fucking do anything against this. So we don't want to get caught out. So we're going to rotate, just keep rotating. And we pushed space to activate our poison and blew it up. Now all our gods have gained +2. And Halloran's really, really, really not having his way with us. So he's -10 at the moment. But they stop regenerating life because the Halloran temple has been destroyed. Now we can pretty much move on after we kill these guys. Now you can see that these guys, this is our first time encountering these type of orc things. And they have just eaten the corpse and they've gained life and damage. So now the precedent is set based off of the racials we fought before, that if we fought a boss that did this, he would do probably something similar. Same thing how I am a human and I am using a bow and shooting with my little guys. Maybe a human boss Denrod might do the same thing. So we are going to go clear up back to here and go up this direction because we're going to use a dust. Now we have activation of all those mountains around us. Maybe we can find some cool stuff. So classic skirmish, we have fairies, so she's going to teleport. Minotaurs do AoE. Halflings do something we don't know yet. We haven't actually encountered one yet. So we're going to see what the halflings do when we get to that. Alright, looks like halflings throwing out some type of glaive. We don't want to be involved in that scenario. Now we can pretty much take our time with these. These are quite easy to fight at a ranged, any type of range situation. Use our bombs to make it really fucking easy for us. Now, this poison damage does stack pretty high as an actual dot. So now we can use our dust. Boom, we unlocked 3 other caverns. All of them are just standard caverns. We're moving on. Next zone. We have 3 of these guys, so it looks like it's going to be pretty tricky on our dodging over here. So we're going to try to keep our distance and kind of follow the paths of the glaives over here. But it might be tricky yet again. We'd like to kill this orc actually first, because he's going to get pretty buff as time goes on. Alright, actually I could have dodged that if I was just paying the fuck attention. We can see how this can get pretty sticky out of hand here if we just really don't respect these glaives. You can actually move within their pattern to avoid them. It seems counterintuitive considering some of the enemies we fought, but no. Moving into the path of the glaive actually makes us find a blind spot. And a lot of this game is about finding blind spots in general. Alright, not the worst, not the best. We now have access to a wise man. Lets us upgrade a skill. We're going to dust to give us more options. There's definitely a treasure layer here that says that this dust reveals a secret treasure layer headed into the mountains. Clear treasure layer for bonus gold. Now we're looking for a blacksmith. No, we're not. We already have our helmet. We're looking for the jewelers, which might be over here, might not be. Let's check. So we have one over here. Now we can possibly make our way over. It's a little dangerous, and we might be going against the clock of the shadow. We don't have a ton of gold. We know what we want to do, which is pretty much just upgrade our sets and move on. So we can use one of the warp stones. This will actually save us 2 days of travel. And there we go. Now, once you already have a Grandmaster thing, the other sets will shine just to show you for an easier way, and you have to actually manually look. This will show, okay, this is the other Grandmaster piece. Wow, that's cool. We got it. Moving on. Now you can see the shadows creeping up. And again, I kind of want to skip some of these skirmishes. So we're going to jump over here, clear this, and then go back to town afterwards. We won't be able to finish our set right now based off of what we've been seeing at. Alright, we're in a bit of a tricky situation here. Don't want to get cornered with these guys. But it's really good because we can actually focus on dodging pretty well, thankfully, to our bombs. Quite the useful skill in my opinion, since it tracks pretty much the enemies for us and lets us actually go about our life over here. Alright, we can see the storm is moving up. We really don't have access to go. Can't really go to the blacksmith. We're pretty much done with that. So we're gonna go get our cheese, buy another dust, buy another potion. We are moving on. I'll move up one more, and we timed this pretty well. We can actually do one more skirmish if we wanted to. So we could reveal there's nothing here, but we can still clear it if we had a choice. We're just not gonna bother. If there was maybe something better, we'd go on. Now Baldric is a giant. We saw a giant earlier, but they were doing something regarding bombs. Now that'd be the common conception, but I know from experience this guy is extremely difficult to fight for me with his boulders. And I've actually had many troubles fighting him in the past. I don't think I've actually ever gotten past him. But you can figure out his pattern so far. He throws this, you can dodge by going right, going left, and this which shoots out looks to be 6 balls. You can just kind of walk around, and you say, alright, this isn't so bad. I can fight this mechanic. And then in about a couple seconds here, he's going to throw a curveball at you that's going to really fucking suck, and that's that. Now, across the screen, these bombs are going to start dropping down in the form of these giant-ass boulders. And they're really tricky to dodge because, you know, they say that the normal human can motion track about 5 to 6 objects at once. Really pushes the limits of that concept in this fight. Because you have to start dodging things, and your space to run around is really going to get limited. So you want to kind of stay in the middle of the room, if possible, to give yourself the most flexibility on where to go. Now, I got hit by one, as you can see, it actually stunned me. Almost dead. Almost got him. Almost got him. There we go. Now, it's good to note that once you kill a boss, his skills do not hurt you. So there's no weird... Like, no, you don't have to be scared, but I'm just saying, often these fights get pretty hairy as far as what's going on. This way, you actually don't have to bother dodging the final death throws of the enemy. More and more and more story. We're moving on. And again, to fit the pattern, there starts with a shop. Now, we're actually going to do the opposite. We're going to go here first. Good amount of life. Thankfully, we actually got a treasure defense. Bonus gold for killing every goblin. Now, it's a bit tricky to do, to be honest, because our damage is not the greatest at the moment. Now, the goblins that come out of the green thing, green portals, actually just need to be hit once, and then they go away. But the other goblins, the ones come to the red portals, actually take the treasure and run away. Now, we're looking pretty bad here. Our damage is quite low. So it's not looking the best as far as we're actually going to be able to succeed in this. We can at least stop the little ones from stealing the treasure. It's good to note that all our abilities don't dissipate just because we have multiples out. We can have... these things don't get killed. We have as many as we want. We've gotten to another god of speed. Grants a powerful blessing upon completing 10 or more favor. Our favor with this god, which is Speckless, is 2. So we will not get favorable in that sense. And we're just going to grab Spotlight thing, moving on. This way we encounter a new shop, which hopefully is... there's none. Interesting. There's a mini-boss, which we can fight in a second. Let's check on this side. None again. Okay, so we have a... looks like we're not going to be able to get our Grandmaster ring in this run. Could be on the right side. Enemies move and attack faster, which is a bit tricky for us. So we're going to try to actually get this favor. You've been hit. Looks like those things you can't walk through. This is actually getting pretty hairy over here. We cannot heal inside this zone, so we have to somehow make it alive. We're about 2 hits from dying. Bam. Alright, looks like we're feeling a little more safe now. Oh. Remember, there is no time limit on zones. Take as long as you want if you start getting scared. +6. That means we have to do one more of him to actually get the success we want. Now, we're going to use a potion here. Heal ourselves back to full. So we've gotten 6 from helping him, 2 from killing another god, which puts us at 8. Which means if we kill another god, we'll get 2 more with Speckless, which means we'll gain the favor of rank 1. So, what we're going to do is we're going to warp. Our time is going to get pretty close here, I think. Actually, we should be fine. We'll clear another zone. Actually, we got a pretty easy zone, thankfully. Maybe I spoke too soon, these little trappers. Really have a hard time reaching him. Can I walk around here? Seems that I can. Alright. We're trying to play the terrain in our favor, but it's getting tricky. Getting low on maneuverability. We can walk through these guys. We're gonna loop back around. There we go. Oh. Okay. So, this is the god of healing. We fought him before, and it's really fucking annoying. So we're going to pass on that. We're actually just going to use this to path over. The shadow's starting to come, so it means every time we move, we're going to get a little farther behind. We're going to kill the god of undead. Which, oh, I got 4 pixies. That's a bit frustrating. This should give us, though, our thing. So if we can... 5 pixies. Never mind. Holy fuck. Alright, this is a bit... it's getting really real out here. 1 down. Really don't give a shit about the altar because we're going to kill it. So, not exactly worried for damaging the altar itself. But it seems we can keep rotating, which should be alright. We've taken more hits than we'd like to take. Now we just have to live through this thing. If we survive, we're fine. Because the next zone we're going to be able to heal from. Alright, looks like we're getting a bunch of skeletal wizards here. There's 4 of them. 5 of them. We can easily get out of hand. We can die here if we just don't play it safe. So we're just going to keep rotating, keep rotating. Boom, it's dead. Now we can kind of take our time. We're doing the good old rotado dance over here. That fucking couch keeps almost killing me. Okay. Alright, we've gotten our another 2 rank, which gives us attack speed, cooldown reduction, movement speed, which are all great things for staying the fuck alive. Now, the situation we're currently in, it's probably best if we just use a warp, because we have more warps than anything. We can grab some more favor, and now by the time we exit here, we'll get enough gold from the boss to actually be able to finish our set. So our boss is this guy. Now, that's not a normal life bar. We haven't seen this yet, so we should probably be a little worried about what the fuck this is. I fought him before, so I know what's coming. Probably just death, but that's okay. This boss is going to shoot out beams and beams and beams. A little dudes are going to come out. We have to kill a little dude, and then I don't know what happens past that, because I've never gotten past that. We have to wait for the little guy and just try to dodge this shit. And they do a lot of damage. It's really hard to actually dodge them. That's the easy dodge. You can see his life dropping with that thing's life. Pretty much our goal is to survive. Oh, alright. It's not looking the best over here. It's good to note that these bombs don't seem to actually track towards the enemy. As far as don't track towards him. Which means by that logic we can just start stacking up bombs and it should work in our favor. Oh, see, we played a little sloppy there, we got caught out. He's taking massive... I really don't really know how to beat this guy, to be honest. Probably going to die here in a second, but that's okay. So this is going to be pretty much the end of our run, I'd imagine. We can somehow miraculously survive. But, you know, you can. Well, pretty... Oh, no, that's it. I'm done. Alright, so that was pretty poor play, but that's okay. So that was what happened with the run, and now the run's over. Alright, tells you some stats, damage stealth, flawless clear 7, overworld moves, time, and then total gold gained. Now we can go to the menu, or we can retry. Retry is just all it's going to do is let us start from the beginning with the same set and the same, like, seed. Or we can go back to the menu, and we could click new run, and it'll give us a new randomization. That about wraps it up for, like, this first demo of the game Flamebreak. Nimbly Games made this, and it's pretty decent for a $10 game, not gonna lie. Has a lot of replayability, and there's lots of things you could strive for as far as unlocks go. It isn't that difficult to get your spirit level up. It doesn't scale exponentially. You know, the next level might be 175 level, which is only slightly harder. So, and you could see these cool things. You got a lot of new classes, weapons, skills, unlocks. I can easily see there being more DLCs in the future, or some DLCs are that, you know, gain access to further things. So we'll see how this goes. I'm at Lighty. This has been your first look at Flamebreak, and yeah, tell me if you guys like it. I'll put a link to the Steam page in the description, and you guys have a nice day.